Holy Championship Monday!
Let's go!
This
yeah,
is
baby.
Flight Check, Season 5, Episode 18. Knox, you had the right shirt idea.
Yes, sir. Yeah, where are y'all at? Where's the champ shirts at?
This is the one that we just won in, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll go change during a break while one of y'all are talking. All right.
When one of us is yapping.
We're back.
Exactly.
Once again, talking all aspects of a FlyQuest Split 2 Championship.
Yes, sir. Let's
The
go.
boys
Yeah,
have
baby.
done it again. They take down Cloud9 in a thrilling 3-2 victory. Just 1 week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks. Or 1 week. No, 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks after beating them in another 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
My name, as always, is Sandy Toes. To my left and my extra left, my fellow host Knox Warren, Curly Double Q. Fellas, what a series. I will admit, I lost faith in Game 4. I thought it was over. But like the Chilean miners of yore, we have risen from the ground, from the ashes, to make it back to an international tournament. MSI only 2 weeks away. FlyQuest straight to bracket stage. Probably will be drawing Genji straight away, right?
Yeah. Gotta get the rematch in.
What a absolutely incredible series. Knox, you literally just finished watching it after having missed it. Your immediate take. What the hell happened?
I legit think we just tilted Cloud9 off the face of the map a little bit because I don't think they just knew what to do with their team comp, man. I had a whole bunch of people watching me just now on the YouTube stream, and I was going over. Cloud9 had Game 5 in the bag. They had such an easy comp to execute on. All they had to do was go take vision on an objective, sit on it. They could, if they wanted, they could start it and execute it because they had Callista and Smite combo. Or if they wanted to just go for the fight, they could do that too. They had so many options. All they had to do, as Lee beautifully puts out in the chat, was they just had the PvE. But they lost their damn minds. Blabber decided to choke it all away, baby. It was, I don't know. It's crazy. They didn't have to do anything. They would have won the game, and they threw it all away. And you know what? We're good enough to be able to pick up the pieces. And that's what matters. Yeah, we have the mental resilience. We have the best mental resilience out of anyone in the league, in my opinion. That's why we are consistently so good at what we do. That is why we are now 2 out of the past 3 championship winners. These guys know how to hold their ground and be resilient and mentally strong. No one else in the league has this level of resilience when it comes to this. We are playing like we were LCK teams back in 2015 through 2016 and 2017, right? Just no matter what you did, these teams knew hey, if we just keep it nice, cool, calm, and collected, the other team's going to do something and we can capitalize. That is literally FlyQuest, man. And that's why we're consistently finding success.
Yeah. That take about the resilience, I think, is extremely true. We almost brought it back in Game 3. A game that we got down
great point.
14 kills to 0. I will say, I know I said I was very scared and had lost some faith at sometime around Game 4. When I saw that Game 3, that we did not just give up and tilt off the face of the earth, I felt okay. And actually, I think it was Azale on the broadcast pointed it out that the way that we stuck around in that game probably prevented our mental from going boom. And probably that's what allowed us to get back into this series. Curly, what an incredible matchup this was. What were your big takeaways from this series?
I mean, the biggest thing is I never lost faith. Like
You never doubted them, per
I
se?
no, never doubted it. I mean, first off, I know you can go back to like our last regular season matchup against Cloud9, where I said that we were going to meet them and beat them and beat them and beat them. I said it was going to happen. And this is what happened. You know, we consistently met them and we won the championship. So I had the faith many, many weeks ago before we were done with the position interface and all that. Um, and I was just vindicated because for me, with FlyQuest, the way the team plays is I never think the game is done until I'm watching our Nexus explode. You know, even if like the turrets were somehow down until that Nexus like health reaches 0, I don't think the game is done. Because I feel like that's how they play. Is the game isn't done until that Nexus is exploded. Um, and so I just, even when things looked very hairy, like I was definitely stressed out, especially in game 5, because like there was a long time in game 5 where it looked like we should not win, a really, really long time. And so I was like, what really made me confident that we were going to be able to bounce back at some point was that really long game against Shopify Rebellion, and how we literally put Lucian into the Mundo, and like who else was up there? Was it Scion? I think it was, or like just these big chunkers that there's no way that he was going to be able to shred. And everyone from draft was like, it's going to be so over, and it just lasted long. We won that. Like if we can win that game, I think we can win just about anything as long as we stay strong. And they really, really proved that. And then I got to credit, like I know Quad got player of the series.
Right.
Masu has to be my biggest props. Always. It's just this man really shows how mechanically gifted he is, and how like when he's locked in, he's like very in the zone. Like he will space very effectively and then go right back in to chase every opportunity he has and do it very, very well. Like the big throw moment for me in game 5 was when Blabber chased him too far, and like he just kind of, when Masu just was able to escape everything, even get just out of range of the Renata ult, and then turn back around, and like boom, that was our moment that we gained control of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it just absolutely crazy game. Lots to talk about, I think, in draft as well. We'll get into that. But this, of course, qualifies FlyQuest for MSI. They are also, along with Cloud9, qualified to another international tournament that shall not be named. So there's a couple interesting pieces there. There has been some discussion over Gakgos, Papa Smithy today saying, I think in OE Cord, that Gakgos probably not playing MSI, but they will look to maybe have him play some games at EWC. So that'll be an interesting discussion point for us as well. And of course, you know, this series, just in general, I think, and I don't know if you guys feel similarly, maybe like these two best of fives, last week's and this week's, two of the most entertaining best of fives I've ever seen.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we'd been saying that for a while, right? Like, it was just like, these are the two best teams in the league. They're just going to be good.
Yeah. And, you know, it really feels like, I'm so glad, like, it's so cool, for one, we didn't have a chance to talk about Shopify beating Team Liquid. It was so cool to see Shopify make it to finals weekend. I think that was really, really good for them. But if it was anything other than FlyQuest Cloud9 in this final, it would have felt it wouldn't have felt real. It wouldn't have felt like a real final to me. And these two teams absolutely battled it out. And frankly, and this is another discussion point, it is a crying shame that only one of these teams can go to MSI. Like, in my opinion, Cloud9 deserves to go just a bit less than FlyQuest does. They had us on the brink. They should be at that tournament as well. I know there's already been plenty of sentiment about that. We can certainly discuss it here. But let's get into the series itself. Back and forth. Draft, I think, really was the story of this series for me. The comps, the drafts that the teams got, I think really played such an integral role in how this series played out. I think you saw that especially in Game 2. You definitely saw it in Game 3 as well. And to an extent, you also saw it in Game 5. So, I mean, basically everything that was on the table got picked in this draft. Knox, like, these drafts to you, like, what stood out the most in these matchups?
I think probably the most egregious one for me was the Trundle pick in Game 2. I'm still looking at the draft even now, and I don't know what it does. I don't know what it does for you. There's no catch, there's no pick, there's no nothing out of it. There's no tanks on Cloud9's side. You're not even pairing it with a tank on your side. It baffles me what the point of the Trundle pick was. Like, maybe for the sake of taking it away later on. I mean, Bwipo literally played Scion the next game, Cho'Gath the game after, and Gragas the 5th game, which had the potential of going tank. So, I mean, it really did free up Bwipo to pick these champions later on down the line. But I don't know if it's worth it to just stick Trundle into a comp like that and hope it works, man. It felt like you threw away a game so that way you could have easier drafting in the other games, when, in my opinion, you should just be going for a good comp period in that game.
Yeah, that one was definitely odd to me. I did not love the Lucian Nami. That was probably the game we looked the worst on.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and Sven was just an absolute monster on that Ezreal. Really just, they got off to a great start and just completely ran over it. Curly, what the heck happened in Game 3? Because down 14-0 so early, and yet
I would tell you, but the Wi-Fi on the flight was not working.
Yeah, I mean,
so I missed that game. I got my viewing experience was literally only our wins. So
sounds to me.
I cannot tell you about Game 3.
I mean, Game 3.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, I'll speak to it. Like Game 3, it was like this game should have been over so early. Like these scores on Cloud9 side read like solo queue scores. Loki 12-1-15. Sven went 15-1-14. I think the big story here, and Nox, like, feel free to agree or disagree, was the objective bounties. And like that game is I think someone said it's like a case study in objective bounties and what they can bring to the table. But for all of the bounties that we got and some of the steals and even a couple picks here and there, the fact of the matter is, like, some of those fights were so close. Like, so often it felt like we had them on 1 HP and we just weren't able to get the damage out to finish these guys off.
Yeah, I think more than it, because I was doing a count in our Discord as I was watching these live, and it was just like, I think we were 0-14 in terms of kills at one point before we finally got our first kill.
Yeah.
I legit, if we get any conversions on any of those kills at any point, I think we have a little extra in the bank by like 1 or 2 extra items, and I legit think that makes a difference, and we can actually probably walk away with winning this game.
Right.
I more than anything, and yes, you have a very massive point on the objective bounties and how there should be a case study, because it is probably illegal for FlyQuest to even be able to get that much of a comeback, but it, in my opinion, is even more illegal for Cloud9 to allow FlyQuest to even get it that close to having a comeback, regardless of objective bounties, man. Like, there was so much time on FlyQuest spent dead that the map should have just been completely suffocated by Cloud9 by the end of the mid game, and instead, FlyQuest was only like at one point at like 25 minutes, FlyQuest was only down 3k gold despite being down over 20 kills.
Yeah,
that is crazy. That should never be allowed. That's highly illegal.
And so much of that was because they got objective bounties and then they got these shutdowns that I think the first kill they got, Quad got, it was an 1100 gold injection.
Yeah.
And
So,
they got like 5 of those. When you
there were
those
some
back to
massive
back,
swings.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I think in the reality though is like Cloud9 had such a gridlock on the game, but they just didn't push. And I guess part of it is like, hey man, like we're in the grand finals, we're tied 1-1, like we don't need to push, just take it nice and easy. But you took it too slow. You let FlyQuest hang in there, and yeah, you ended up winning the game later on, but you had to work really freaking hard for it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then game 4, Curly, I know you saw this one because you saw the wins.
I absolutely did.
Again, a game that does not start off so hot, but we managed to bring this one back. For you in this one, what were the big turning points?
It seems at the moment like such a small one, but it was the first step to a long journey of making sure we won this, and that's when we've sent everything to protect our turret and make sure we got the first turret.
Yeah.
Like, it added such minuscule opportunities for us that we were able to build upon. And you could feel it the rest of the match. Because at that moment, it was like we were definitely lopsided, but we put every effort we possibly could into making sure we were getting that turret first. And
Oh no.
Uh-oh, we lost him mid-sentence, mid-take.
The airplane Wi-Fi got to him. It was hunting him down this whole time.
it just helped because I believe we were able to just really... Yep, absolutely. Like, Quad really just was able to nail some really good walls, really good mold earths, and it was just great. And then even later on, it's like there were some sketchy fights, but the spacing between Quad and Masu to always be on the edge of it and just pumping out damage with their... I'm guessing they were both Qs because I don't know Corky's kit that well, but the big rocket I'm assuming is a Q. So it's like they were just chunking everyone down, and they made a 3-0 Aurora feel like nothing, which was... I think another part of that, too, is we played Vision really well at a lot of moments. And we're able to catch out these small opportunities with like some Busio hooks or some flanking from Whippo or Inspired, you know?
Yeah. Curly, I think, yeah, both Nox and I agree 100% with everything you said, even if we missed part of it. Talk to me about...
Oh, what?
You cut out for like 10 seconds.
Dang.
And then came back with a, yeah, yup, totally. We were like, what is he agreeing with?
Dang.
Okay, my question here, game 4, Talia goes through for free. How does that happen? Because Cloud9, first 3 bans, Vi, Callista, Yorick. Like, they're that scared? Like, I guess, like, I get it. You're scared of the Yorick pick into the Jace. Totally. And you don't want to give over the Callista. Totally. But Vi was banned, first ban on red side, all 5 games. I don't even feel like Vi is particularly that strong. Maybe I'm missing something, but I've seen plenty of people talk about how Vi is not actually that cracked, and maybe it's just Inspired's Vi, maybe it's Blabber's Vi, but I'm just shocked that Talia got through this late in the series.
So the way I've had Vi... Oh, go for it, Curly.
Well, if you look at all of it, Vi has been banned in all but 2 games in this entire series.
That's crazy.
Yeah, or like this entire playoffs.
Okay.
It like TL got a pick
like
against Dignitas.
S-tier champion.
Maybe, and then like Cloud9 was able to get it against Team Liquid, like, and those are the only 2 times that it's been let through. Everyone bans it in the first round. That's the other thing. It's always a first round. It's like 1, 2, or 3. It's always red side banning it too. So there's something about Vi, like in the scrims meta, that we didn't get to see. That makes
the way I had it described to me is that Vi is a champion that you are either picking game one or you're not picking it for the whole series, period. And the reason why is that a lot of the early champions picked in the first couple games are like usually pretty heavily meta champions. You get things like Silas popping up and other things that are easily able to handle her, Azir, so on and so forth. And so a lot of the times what happens is after those champions are banned because they've been picked, you get later on down the line of the deeper champion pools, and they're not as good of answers to Vi. And so if you're on red side, a lot of the teams on blue side are just going to B1 it because you're not going to have an answer to this Vi now that a lot of the early champions have been picked from game one. So it's either Vi seeing play in game one or you're probably not going to see her for the whole series, period. That's kind of how I had it described to me.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, again, the mental after a tough early game where Sven got, I think the Aurora got 3 kills. Sven got a kill as well. So like the Trist was up, the Aurora was up. Just be able to bounce back, I think was so freaking huge. Before we get into game 5, I'm just going to point out one thing. This was not a good series from Bwipo.
No.
I felt like he was too hyphy. His engages were not coordinated frequently. And that's something to me that really has to sharpen up for MSI. Like, I get that he wants to get in there and fight, but a lot of these engages were just not it. Or, like, sticking behind, trying to fight it out. I just... Like, he was almost 9v1ing the game. It was kind of bad at times. And, frankly, like, Quad and Masu basically, like, carried this series for us, in my opinion. What do you guys think of Bwipo's performance today? Or yesterday?
I think what ended, like, I generally agree that he did not have a good series. He had lots, in my opinion, good moments, but I think the good moments are far outweighed by a lot of bad moments that he had. Because he had moments that actually helped progress the game for FlyQuest. The one that I specifically remember, he had a flash chose silence onto Sven's Tristana in game 4, which allowed the Inspired Nocturne to come in and just complete end him on the spot because he couldn't rocket jump away. He didn't have flash, nothing. And he just got 100 to 0 off of that. And so tiny little stuff like that I've absolutely seen Bwipo do throughout this entire series. It was like, dang, that was a great play by Bwipo. There was even multiple casks in game 5 that we can get into here in a second that were good. Then he also had a lot of bad casts too. Like, what was that, Bwipo? This felt a game where he was just constantly flipping coins. He was getting some heads, more tails, and I think he hit more tails than heads this particular series, but that's just Bwipo, man. And I don't get me wrong, I still agree with you. He does need to like up the consistency because better teams are not going to allow FlyQuest to be able to get away with this level of play from him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then even in the interviews afterwards, you like whether it formal or Olipop sponsored, you see him talking about it, where he's like, "Yeah, this wasn't really a good series for me, but I'm glad we won." So he's even being very critical of himself.
Yeah.
And like for all the praise I give him, even I have to be real. Like it was pretty rough. I personally think it is a bit criminal. Like I know we said we're not going to get into game 5 yet. I think it's criminal that he was allowed to go full AP Gragas for whatever reason and make it work in the circumstances they had. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was cooking. I don't know how he went off of it, but holy shit.
Yeah.
like that was the most egregious one for me because maybe I'm sure if I was able to watch it games 2 and 3, those would have been rough, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, just something really to sharpen up for in MSI. All right, so yeah, speaking of that Gragas, game 5, absolute knife's edge. Knox, you literally just finished watching it. Your thoughts on this game? What an insane comp for game 5. No tank, full AP Gragas, assassin Kha'Zix, Mage Victor, DPS Caitlyn, your only engage is the Bwipo Gragas ulti or an Elise Cocoon. And yet somehow we pull this off. Thanks to a brilliant backdoor call. I mean, what's your takeaway here on this game? Like, just complete insanity here. I thought this comp was doomed.
This comp for me was very much, it needed to be one in the mid to early game, or early to mid game, between Elise and Kha'Zix, and like the picks on side lanes that you can pull off, and even like early jungle invades that you want to do. Great, awesome, fantastic. And then what happens is, ideally off of that tempo advantage that you can get off of those picks, you ideally want to rotate most of the group down into objectives, and you want to be the first one on objectives, because between Caitlyn and Victor and all the zoning traps, the zoning W from Victor, his E, even Victor's R, it's so hard for Cloud9 to get in onto the objectives without absolutely being chunked out or just completely obliterated trying to get in there, right? The reality of what ended up happening was basically at no point ever did FlyQuest manage to get onto an objective first. It was always Cloud9 getting to every single objective. The one that was weird was the Grubs, where they like switched positions, which was just odd, but I'm not going to get into the details of that. And so at this point, as I'm watching this unveil, I'm sitting here going, it's just so doomed. I knew at this point in time, I was spoilered, so to speak. I knew who won. So it was like, I know FlyQuest wins this, but I'm baffled at what happens. And I really think the big turning point was when Blabber tried to go for a pick on Masu. And there's a VOD on our YouTube channel. You can see it. You can go look it up. I'm live on it. And you see me like yell out, "What the hell, Blabber? You had one job." And like, you see it. He gets picked, and then like the whole tide begins to turn a little bit, because it allows FlyQuest to pick up a little bit of tempo, and they can start actually taking some fights. And in the end, they still had to backdoor it, don't get me wrong, but all Cloud9 had to do that game was just sit on objectives. They had so much tempo, they had lanes shoved, they had Baron. There was no reason that FlyQuest was ever going to win any team fight, period. It was not possible. And what does Blabber do? He tries to go for a pick, and he gets himself killed. The big reasons FlyQuest won this series in Game 5 are because Blabber choked, and I think, honestly, Vulcan was choking too. He had 3 massive ult misses on FlyQuest.
My god, they went so wide.
When he was one of the most pertinent members of Cloud9's comp, making sure that FlyQuest couldn't do what they wanted to do with Elise and Kha'Zix, and he missed 3 massive ults. All through any one of those ults hit, I think Cloud9 takes this series. But he missed all 3 of those ults. So those are kind of my big takeaways from Game 5. We could go into draft a little bit and how wild it is. It's Game 5. You're trying to do something spicy and different. And you know what? Part of me really does think that that's part of the reason why Cloud9 didn't know what to do, because it's like, how do we handle a Kha'Zix? How do we handle a support Elise? Right. Like, how do we handle this Caitlyn that we don't typically play against all that often? How do we handle against this full AP dropping nukes on people Gragas? Like, there's hesitation. Yeah, there's hesitation there, and I get that. And so there's something to be said about going for this style of draft. But the reality of the situation is I don't think FlyQuest was using the draft right either, which is rough to say. So both teams, I feel like in Game 5, and again, this is what Fearless is. It's the beauty of teams trying to figure out how to operate their drafts. But I would say both teams did not play their comps very well at all in Game 5.
You know what really also surprised me about Game 5 is, like, Thanatos, I've never seen a Cassante so hesitant to engage after one turning point. Because, like, after that that throw from Bwipo, you don't really see the Cassante try to go in as much, and he just constantly gets poked down by the time he even gets there. Which is not something, like, in pro matches, you usually see the Cassante jump in, isolate a carry, and bring it back to their team, or at least away from the fight, so that they can win the 1v1 and get back into things. And you saw that a few times, but not enough. And so I think the mental impact on Cloud9 from that key moment of over chasing Masu really just like it didn't just hurt their chances, it hurt their will to try and make it work.
Yeah. I think for me, yeah, man, Knox. I go back to. I go back to that Blabber trying to catch out Masu moment as well, and I remember sitting there having to. I remember sitting there explaining to my wife like how critical that moment was, because she was like, why didn't he just get him there? And I was like, well, probably just wasn't in range, and he probably was just trying to chase after him. And man, yeah, that was a critical moment for sure.
For me, here's the thing: killing Masu there still gets Blabber killed either way. You like in that position, you are trading 1 for 1. And I would argue that in that state of the game, it is more pertinent that your jungler is alive than your AD carry. Well, in Cloud9's case, it's better to have the AD carry alive. But in like FlyQuest's case, it's far better to have the jungler alive over the AD carry. And so it's not a good trade, in my opinion. So I don't know what Blabber was going for there. It was baffling my mind. Even if you got the 1 for 1 trade, it puts FlyQuest at an advantage. So it's just frustrating.
All right, so this game goes back and forth a while. This backdoor call, let's wrap up the series coverage right here. This backdoor call from Inspired, absolutely brilliant. Busio with a huge job distracting Cloud9, who was stuck on Elder, did not realize what was going on. They just did not have vision of their base, that's their own fault. Absolutely incredible call to make our way into the base, soak up those Nexus towers, and then you could really see the AP Gragas coming in there when he did like 40% of the Nexus's health in damage with his
one hit
auto attack. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He knew that's what was going to happen. That's why he built full AP. He played the long con. He knew all along. He's like, guys, I got to build AP, otherwise we're not going to be able to do this backdoor. How it's got to be.
6-dimensional chess. That's for sure.
It came to him in a dream.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Y'all's thoughts on that backdoor? I just I still can't get over it. It was so cool to see. Like, second championship in a row backdooring.
I think it's just absolutely the right call, because what ends up happening is Cloud9 takes the Elder Drake, and then there was no, even before the Elder Drake, there's no world where FlyQuest wins a 5v5. That was going to be the nail in the coffin, and so FlyQuest went for the Hail Mary, and I forget what Super Bowl it was, but it was just one of the guys catching it down in the end zone amongst like 4 other guys, and they end up winning the game off of it. That was the play that had to happen. They made it happen. Like, absolute cinema. You can't ask for anything better than that. It was just glorious way to end a whole series and win the championship.
Yeah. Curly.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out what we do next, right? It's because, all right, we got the Winion, which is objectively, I think, the craziest way to win a title match of any sort. And then now we've got the 2-man backdoor after what looks like is potentially being over. So it's like, what do we cook up next? How do we win crazier than this? Because it seems we're setting a precedent of we can't win in a normal way. We need a what the hell just happened moment for us to win titles. So like, all right, we've got 3 months, I think. Yeah, 3 months for us to figure out a new way. I don't have any ideas. Like, I think Kobe said the only thing left was maybe like a base to base, or was it Kangas? Maybe whoever was interviewing yesterday. Like, they're like the only thing they came left of the crazy ways to win would be base to base. And please don't do that to my heart. I don't want to deal with a game 5 base to base mentally. That's going to hurt so hard until it feels great. You know?
Yeah. I mean, just totally crazy. So going from here, this team had 5 first-team All-Pros, the split MVP in Inspired, took down the presumptive number 2 team in 2 back-to-back best-of-5s, also beat them in a best-of-3, 2-0 earlier in the regular season. In fact, the only loss of record, besides like individual games in a best-of series, was to Cloud9 in the super week of the positioning phase, this split. So if not for that one loss, you could make a legitimate argument that this could have been an undefeated split. Where...
Yeah.
So literally one best of 1 away from an undefeated split. 6-1 positioning phase, 6-1 group stage, then a 2-0 in the qualifier part of the group stage, and then did we 3-0? Yeah, we 3-0'd Shopify, 3-2, and 3-2.
Really, you could argue that if we hadn't dropped the 1 game to Shopify in the best of 3s, the only team we would have lost to this year would have been Cloud9.
No, that's legit. And so the only teams that we dropped games to were these 2nd and 3rd place teams. I think that really tells you something.
I would say it tells us that we're pretty good.
I think we're pretty good at League of Legends, guys.
Well, I think it goes to show that this is not like a fluke. This is not a fluke. This team is not fraudulent. They didn't drop random games. They are legitimately the best team in the league, and it's time for people to wake up and take notice. And I think there's a lot of people out there who really want to deny that FlyQuest is a good team because they don't like Whippo, or they don't like Inspired, or they don't like the management. And so they want to pretend that, it's FraudQuest or whatever, when it's time to face the music. FlyQuest is the best team in the league, and they will be for the rest of the year. It's that simple. The math does not lie. Call me when FlyQuest, loses a series. Not at MSI. I'm talking about domestically.
Not at MSI. You're important distinction there. Not at MSI. Not at MSI.
Not at MSI. Call me when they lose a domestic series, all right? And if and when they lose in Split 3, sure, they're still going to make Worlds. Like, there's no way they don't make Worlds at this point. So, let's give up this FraudQuest narrative, because you don't like people on the management team. It's time to move on. Just put the fries in the bag. There was a little bit of news. I don't want to go really too much into MSI. The only thing that I want to say about MSI really quick is the nonsense that is the play-in stage. It's probably going to be G2 versus Furia and BLG versus GAM. Yeah, and BLG versus GAM. How much better would this play-in stage be if it was G2 versus Cloud9?
And it would have been it's a best of 5 too. It
Yeah.
would have been glorious.
How much freaking better would that be?
And what would end up happening too is because it's double elimination. So I imagine what happens is one of G2 or Cloud9 obviously plays, and then it would have been BLG versus GAM, and then I imagine whoever lost between G2 and Cloud9 probably beats GAM.
Yep.
And then
BLG
whoever
probably
won
beats-
loses to BLG. So you
get-
get 2 best of 5s between NA and EU basically,
know.
and instead
That'd be
we don't
huge.
get that.
I know. Ridiculous. We can get more into that. I think it'll be easier to talk about that once we see Furia perform. And who knows, maybe they will shock us all. G2 has not looked like the G2 of old. Maybe, I don't think that there's an angle for Furia to take it over G2, but stranger things have occurred.
The most important thing about this matchup, though, real quick, is those are 2 NA coaches. So really, this is 2 NA teams facing each other.
Oh yeah, it's true. Think hard. for Furia.
Thinkard versus Dylan Falco.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, exactly.
So really, it's just all NA. It's all NA.
It's all in it.
Yeah, I think in general, because I watched actually a little bit of the LTA South whenever I was getting up on weekend mornings. Furia in general, in my opinion, mechanically is not all that impressive, with the exception of Gligo, the top laner. Outside of that, they're very solid at macro. They know where they need to be on the map, but I feel like most of these other teams are just going to absolutely outclass them in terms of mechanics is what's going to end up happening. And so they may make smart decisions on the map, but they're just going to get pushed around. And I think it's going to be a little bit depressing if I'm being completely honest,
No,
which sucks because this should just be Cloud9. It
Well,
should just 100% be Cloud9.
It double sucks because we won't get Furia's support JoJo taking on Movistar Koi's mid laner Jojo Pune. You know, the JoJo
True.
v JoJo matchup probably is not going to happen. Yeah, that's another quick thing to note. By the way, Jojo Pune, North American mid laner, goes to MSI with Movistar Koi. That's going to be exciting to see. I can't wait. I really hope we get a Movistar Koi versus FlyQuest matchup. That would be a mega banger. I really think that this MSI is very interesting. There's some interesting teams here. You've got Anyone's Legend, Flandre, Tarzan, Shanks, Hope, and Kale are going to be there from China, as well as BLG, so Bin, Beishuan, Night Elk, and On. You've got Genji and T1 making a return to international play. Dread it, run from it. T1 at internationals still arrives. You've got a G2 who still have yet to win a title this year. And then you've got Flying Oyster, who took everyone by surprise at first stand and looked great. Plus, you've got the Vietnamese team of GAM back once again at an international tournament. I think this is going to be a great tournament. I'm really excited for this one. How are you guys feeling about MSI with these teams that have qualified?
I actually think this should be a very exciting MSI.
It doesn't feel like
I
there's
cannot
like
wait.
an outright, maybe Genji is like the outright favorite right now. But it feels like the field's kind of open for like a top 4, frankly. I could really see it going a few different ways.
Possibly. We'll see. I'm very hesitant. I think the main team that you're aiming for, if you're going to break out the East, is probably going to be T1. But we can get in more into that next week.
Yeah, we'll get into that next week for sure. As our MSI coverage, thankfully, will continue. Since FlyQuest did make it. I was sitting there nervously watching that game, and I was like, if we lose Game 5, what are we going to talk about for 4 weeks? We won't have anything to discuss.
It would have been very depressing.
Very, very quickly, and then we'll wrap the show. Some roster news is leaking already for Split 3. Photon coming in for Surti on Dig. And Licorice getting benched as well is the rumor. I don't remember who he's getting replaced by. Oh, what's it? Zamudo? Zamudo.
Yeah.
So, top laner swaps for 2 of our bottom 4 teams. We will see if these make legitimate improvements. Surti getting benched seems kind of rough for that rookie. Licorice, I don't think was a shining star on that Lion roster, so it's not too surprising. But I don't know. I just want to get some quick takes from you guys on these roster movements as teams begin to look ahead towards Split 3.
Dignitas continues to solidify themselves as the absolute joke team of the LTA, man. Like, why you had all this messaging on Twitter and other social media platforms about yeah, man, Sorty is the future. We purposely went to him first. We wanted to help build a team around him to make him thrive, to make him succeed, and then you dump his ass after 2 splits. Like, excuse my language, but what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
You did all this stuff trying to get him up and ready and prepped, and like the promise of a new top laner, and I still think this man can be good. Yet, was he the worst top laner in the split? Yes, but freaking commit to the man, dude.
I don't
He
know.
was not that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, both were pretty bad, and I can get into Licorice here in a second. But like, at least Surdy has the fact that he's a rookie. It's his first time in the LTA, and he was not so downright horrible that he deserved to be kicked within the year. Like, he had multiple shining moments on that Dignitas squad. He qualified for playoffs. Like, I don't know, man. Diggs management is just an absolute freaking joke, and I feel bad for Surdy. It just, there's no reason for him to be getting replaced. Do I think Photon is an upgrade? Yes, technically. Does Dig have a better shot of going further? Yes, technically. I don't think it's getting him anywhere near a top 2 into Worlds, though. Like, if you're not getting into Worlds, like, what are you making the roster changes for? Like, the only roster changes you should be making is for a future development in future splits. So you can eventually go for a top 2, or eventually, if Riot changes their stupid rulings, top 3. Like, that's what it should be.
Right.
But the reality of the situation is you're making this change now, and it's still going to leave you in the 5th, 6th slot. Maybe you can sneak into 4th if, like, Team Liquid continues to fall down the rankings. But I don't think TL is going to continue to fall down the rankings. So, like, it just sucks, man. It just really, really sucks. As for Licorice, I'll keep this one short. Not the shining light. I really don't think he was the glaring issue, though. I think in general, Lion just looks kind of disjunctional. I don't know if it's a new coach that they need, or if they just need more time together to synergize. I think pretty much every player on that team, I'm trying to think if there's any. No, yeah, literally every player on that team is super inconsistent. Like, Licorice is inconsistent, Audi is inconsistent, Saint is inconsistent, Henna is inconsistent, and Lion is inconsistent. Lion probably being the most consistent of them all, but when your support player is the most consistent, that's a problem. So I get wanting to go for a different top laner. I'm happy it's Zamudo. You took NA talent, always cool by me. I don't think it's really going to help improve your team at all, and you're still going to have the inconsistency issues, but by all means, I actually am down to see how that one plays out, because you're actually grabbing NA talent, you're grabbing a rookie. Maybe he brings something to the team that changes and switches things up. Go for it. I do think more than anything, though, you should probably eyeball a different coach.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair take. Curly, how about you? Thoughts on these roster moves ahead of Split 3?
I mean, first off, it's a bad time to be an NA top laner, apparently. But to keep it simple with Licorice, I don't have many thoughts on that one. That one just seems a little bit question mark to me. I'm not sure what they felt was the need for that. I don't think it's a huge boost. I don't think it's a huge hindrance. I think it's just trying something to try something, maybe. Like, maybe they rolled the dice and decided, all right, Licorice is the one to go. I don't know. But like Nox said, the fact that it's at least like invested in a potential future of NA talent, I see the angle there. Like, if that is what they are attempting to do, it's one that might not make sense now, but hopefully does in a year if they commit that long. As for Dignitas, I think it's preposterous. I think it's horrendous, and I think it's disgraceful to like just pull the rug off of, like Nox said, it's like they hyped up wanting to work with him. They said he's the future of NA. They made Surdy look forward to working with them. And it's like, I always, any off season, I see rookies like we had on Academy, where I'm like, there's no space for them on our roster because we're doing well, and there's no space for them on some potential top rosters because I'm sure they're looking elsewhere. But I don't want them on rosters like Dignitas. Dignitas has always been in my mouth of like somewhere I don't want our rookies to go, because it's a death sentence. It is a death sentence org that puts on performative roster moves to make it seem like they're at least trying something, and they're not committed to actually doing anything in the long run. Right. It's like, I can't count the last time a Dignitas roster change felt meaningful.
No, it's a great way of putting it.
And so it's like it's a literal hindrance to the league, honestly. Like, if there was a way that you could sanction this and punished for this, I think you should, because it's like such a repetitive behavior that it just pisses me off, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it's like if you look at the history of the entirety of what I've seen from Dignitas since I've been watching a fan, if you have that kind of performance over the course of 5 years, maybe it doesn't matter what players you change. Maybe you need to change the staff itself. You know, maybe you need a new manager. Maybe you need new coaches. Maybe you need new investors.
Sandy, he doesn't know. Sandy, he doesn't know. You and I, we know. We've been watching since 2012, 2013. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
What do I know? Please.
I mean, they literally left the league and came back.
Who let them back in?
Why? So they didn't leave. They got relegated.
That is fair. Yes.
And then
that
they got
makes
left.
So much sense. Oh my god.
Yeah. Bad team. Very bad.
I gotta wonder on like their side of things, like how do they even stay in this game? How are they here? What are they doing? Like whoever at the Dignitas books is like, yeah, let's sign more money to the slice that is Dignitas League of Legends. No one knows what they do or why they're here.
Does Dig even
but here's
have
the
other games that they sponsor players in? I don't even, frankly.
Well, they had Dig Mirage in the LFL. I don't know if that's still a thing, but that is way more successful than anything they've ever done in LCS since I started watching.
Dude.
Or at least more interesting.
Get this team out. They need to be immortals. Like, just immortals, these guys. 100%. All right. On that great note, FlyQuest is still the LTA North champions. LTA North Conference champions, by the way. And in Split 3, they will show why they are the LTA champions for the entire league. That's both North and South. In Dallas, by the way. Shockingly close to one Mr. Knox.
Yes, sir. Actually, hold on. Here's a question about that. So, the Brazilian, or I guess I shouldn't say Brazilian, the South, the LTA South, second and third seeds are supposed to come up and play the second and third seeds of the LTA North, correct?
Oh, wait a second.
So is that what's happening that weekend in Dallas, or is it the LTA playoffs and then there's another tournament in LA afterwards?
You're raising great points.
That's going to have to take some investigation, because...
Hang on. Top 3 teams qualify for the regional championship. So Split 3 happens, right? And the top 3 teams go straight to the LTA championship, which is with the other 3 teams from the LTA South. You do that LTA 1 and LTA North 1 and LTA South 1 upper bracket juggernaut matchup. Top 3 teams qualify for Worlds no matter what. So if you win, if you're the number 1 seed from LTA North and you win that best of 5 versus LTA South number 1, you not only go to grand finals, you also go to Worlds. The loser of that, though, is also qualified for Worlds because they will be at losers finals in Dallas. So no matter what, we are guaranteed one LTA North team and one LTA South team at Worlds, right? Most likely, that LTA South team will be playing the LTA North 2 or 3 in lower finals on the Saturday, and then the winner of that plays the LTA North 1 on the Sunday for the, overall, LTA split through, LTA regional championship. That is almost certainly how it will go, barring some insane upsets on the LTA South side. So,
okay, I did not even realize that we will be watching LTA South versus LTA North in Dallas. That I did not even click in my head.
We will. So, frankly, that atmosphere on that Saturday could be banging. That could
actually no. Hey, you could go see some Brazilian teams live, buddy. It could happen.
That could be that might be a banging Saturday.
That would be exciting.
And then Sunday will be absolute crickets. You know it. But still, I don't know.
I need Jose Dioto to make it. That's what I need.
Ooh. Yeah, you know what? I will be watching LTA South Split 3 with interest just to see who I'll be seeing in Dallas on that Saturday. That is for sure. All right, let's wrap this up. This has been another fantastic episode of Flight Check. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. MSI, 2 weeks away. FlyQuest will be there. We'll be watching. It'll be absolutely incredible. We're so jazzed to be supporting this team. Go get that hockey jersey. $110 on flyquest.gg/shop, I believe.
Don't forget the discount code.
Don't forget the discount code, FlyMSI, Fly2MSI.
I believe it's fly at MSI.
Fly at MSI.
Let me go check. Let me go check the tweet.
Confirms. While he's confirming, the other thing you could do is go on Twitter and follow us for all our reactions and thoughts. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Knox at Knoxwar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place. If you missed any part of the episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that and want to catch the show live, we do broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Curly, what's the code and any final shout-outs before we wrap up?
The code is indeed fly at MSI. That is FLYAT MSI at your checkout for 20% off the entire cart. So you could get this and all the other Carlybot bangers available to you for 20% less. And I believe that applies technically with the tax, but please do not quote me on that. This is not a legally published ad. This is just a fan trying to help you get some affordable merch. Right. My other shout out is New York City is a pretty cool place because I was there this weekend, in and out. I had a lot of fun exploring the Lower East Side. Central Park is as beautiful as it always is. I saw a bodega cat. It was really awesome. I found a public market. It was really awesome. And it was a really, really fun in and out experience. So if you can visit the Big Apple, do it honestly as much as you can. I used to never be a big NYC fan, but the experience will never, ever be the same. So yeah, go visit the Big Apple or really anywhere else. Traveling is fun.
Traveling is fun. Knox, how about you? Final notes, shoutouts, and plugs.
Shout out FlyQuest as always, man. Making MSI, way to go, guys. Outside of that, shout out to Still Ricky, the winner of the FlyQuest Discord Pick'ems at a nice and whopping, what did he have? I think it was 59 points. I'm double checking. 57 points. 57 points was the winner. So,
okay.
Congrats to him. He will be getting, I'm working on getting him his prize now. It should be a jersey. But I know he also has this jersey already, so I'm trying to see if he maybe wants something else that's not the same equivalent, but maybe something less, but still something. On Saturday, I'm still confirming with Numi right now if I'm allowed to give out an MSI jersey for that MSI Pick'ems. I will tweet about that later on sometime this week, hopefully. So keep an eye out for that. There will be a prize for MSI Pick'ems no matter what, but I'm trying to see if I can have it be an MSI jersey. So keep an eye out.
Nice. I'm realizing that I was only 4 points behind Still Ricky. If I had not absolutely bombed in playoffs week 1 and 2, your boy might have won a jersey. Because I had a pretty good split. If I do say so myself, top 10. All right. My shout out is going to be to my wife who made an absolutely banging peanut noodle dish last night that I absolutely devoured way too much of. So that's the shout out. All right.
Food coma time.
Yeah, food coma time. All right. We'll be back soon to discuss MSI, previewing bracket matchups and whatnot. So for now, stay safe out there and bite your teeth. Do not forget to hit the head on the nail. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.